is the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast.
Hello! Welcome, my friends, to another edition of the Celebrity Afterlife Report, the only show on the internet that gives you the up-to-the-minute gossip about all your favorite-to-see celebs. I'm your host, the Celebrity Medium. As always, my paparazzi sources have scoured the next world for the best current stories about the famous and their plane of existence, and I am prepared also, as always, to let you in on them. A few days ago, Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon, transitioned to the afterlife. In the crowd there to greet him were his fellow astronauts Neil Armstrong and Alan Shepard. And while Shepard has been keeping a low public profile in the next world, Armstrong has been working with the Shakespearean acting troupe run by the Bard himself, along with Vince McMahon Sr. It was the first time the three had been together in many years, so as you would imagine, they were all very happy to be reunited. I'm informed that even after the rest of the welcoming crowd dissipated, the three space cadets continued talking at the greeting spot for the next few hours. A source who stood off to one side as the astronauts conversed tells me he was able to eavesdrop on a little of their conversation. He reports that he distinctly heard Armstrong tell Mitchell, quote, "We have to introduce you to Vince," unquote. Based on that, the source speculates that Edgar Mitchell may soon be joining the theater company to perform alongside his NASA sidekick, Armstrong. Now, while that seems a reasonable assumption, I've learned over the years that one should never jump to conclusions when dealing with the next world. Things seem to operate a little differently there, so I've asked my sources to keep an eye on this story, and I will fill you in as soon as I have more information. Merv, Griffin, and Tammy Faye Bakker have been in hiding for several weeks now, as I told you on last week's report, because of baseball legend turned radio shock jock Babe Ruth asking his fans to go on the attack against them because of their booking Osama bin Laden on their TV talk show. As I also reported last week, Ruth has promised to call off his Bambinos if Griffin and Bakker would agree to appear on his morning drive show. Now comes word that the two are reluctant, but their producers have suggested to them that they do it to allow them to go back to making new episodes for their talk show. Production has been halted since the Bambinos set off stink bombs in their studio. So what I'm hearing now is that Merv and Tammy Faye are going to go on Ruth's show sometime in the next few days. Fireworks are just about guaranteed, as Ruth has a well-deserved reputation for verbally abusing his guests and going out of his way to embarrass them. So with Griffin having come out of the closet in the afterlife and Bakker's penchant for over-the-top hairdos and makeup, there's a lot of material for Ruth to work with. Now, this is probably an awful thing to say, but part of me really wishes that I could be in the next world for just one day so I can hear this show as it airs, because I think it's going to be a real doozy. Also, as I told you on last week's report, comedian Robin Williams and singer Amy Winehouse are engaged to be married. The two met while recording audio for Amy's Amazing Adventures, a cartoon show based on Winehouse's persona. After working together for a few weeks, Robin proposed to her, giving her a ring with what has been described to me as a huge diamond, which Amy has been showing off to everyone she meets. The two have even picked out a nice house they plan to move into after the nuptials. Now comes comes word that the ceremony may happen as soon as Valentine's Day next week. So far, the couple has kept tight-lipped about that, but the rumor is very persistent, and stories are circulating that friends of both Robin and Amy have cleared their calendars for the 14th. So based on the information I received, it sounds as if the funny man and the songbird are ready to pull the trigger on this thing. I'm sure there will be more on this story in the next edition of the report. Finally, for this week, we have a quick follow-up to last week's story about LaVoy Finicum. Finicum, who just recently arrived in the afterlife, was one of the men occupying a federal bird sanctuary in eastern Oregon. As you'll recall, he was very excited to find out that there is no governmental structure in the next world. According to several sources, he has been seen around the afterlife in the past few days having furtive meetings with various people. Sources tell me that everyone involved in the meetings seems very interested in making sure that no one can overhear them, although the meetings they have witnessed have taken place in public spots, which is kind of weird. A source saw Finicum and the two men he was speaking with on one occasion holding their hands over their mouths as if to prevent anyone from eavesdropping on them. It all sounds very cloak and dagger, and no one I've heard from has any idea as yet what Finicum and his new friends might be up to. To me, this story has the earmarks of something big, and I will be following developments in it closely, hoping to find out just what's up. Okay, now I realize we've had a few cliffhangers in this edition of the report. That just means you have to come back next week to find out what's happening, doesn't it? I certainly hope you do, and if you wouldn't mind between now and then, please share with your friends. And the report is available for free on iTunes. I am the Celebrity Medium. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast. To ask a question about your favorite deceased celebrity, call 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-369-3732.